Oil just hit $150 a barrel. Analysts are now saying $200 is possible. Here's what that means for your country, your fuel, and your food. Oil has reached $150 a barrel. This is not a number on a distant financial screen. It is the price for physical barrels delivered now. The price is a record, and the disconnect with futures is widening. The International Energy Agency confirms the largest oil supply disruption in history. This is not just geopolitics. It will hit your fuel, your heating, and your food. But to understand what this truly means, you need to know what happened and why it matters to you. Stay with us. The Hormuz oil shock explained. The entire crisis revolves around a single geographic location, the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow channel linking the Persian Gulf to the open ocean, only about 33 kilometers, 21 miles across at its narrowest. Oil from Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, and Iraq must pass this choke point to reach the world. Around 20 million barrels per day, roughly 1/5 of global oil, normally flows through Hormuz. 1/5 of global LNG and up to 30% of internationally traded fertilizers also transit this route. On February 28, 2026, reports of US and allied strikes inside Iran emerged after tense nuclear talks collapsed. Vice President J.D. Vance said Iran would not provide an affirmative commitment not to seek a nuclear weapon. Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps began restricting and harassing tankers, weaponizing the choke point. The United States Navy responded with a formal blockade of Iranian ports in the Strait of Hormuz. The blockade began April 12, 2026. Insurance costs spiked, traffic slowed to a crawl, and energy flows were choked, setting the stage for today's price shock. Here is exactly what is at stake. The immediate effect on supply was staggering. According to the IEA, global oil supply fell by 10.1 million barrels per day in March, down to 97 million. This disruption is 2 to 3 times larger than the 1973 and 1990 shocks, the largest geopolitical oil supply disruption in modern history. Physical barrels surged near $150. A sharp disconnect opened between physical markets and futures, signaling acute near-term scarcity. Refined products were hit even harder. In Singapore, middle distillates, diesel and jet fuel spiked above $290 a barrel. These fuels power trucks, ships and planes, the engines of the global economy. The shock hit Asia hardest. China, Japan, South Korea and India rely heavily on Hormuz flows. 84% of crude through the strait was Asia-bound in 2024. Strategic reserves offer only a temporary buffer, measured in months, not years. Fertilizer flows were disrupted too. Hormuz moves up to 30% of internationally traded fertilizers. Granular urea prices jumped to around $700 per metric ton, from $400 to $490 before the war. A 50% surge in inputs cascades into higher food prices into 2027. Markets are split. Opportunity for energy, risk for growth. Energy stocks are up sharply, XLE up 38% year to date. But sustained high energy and food costs raise recession risk. The Dallas Fed estimates up to 1.8 percentage points added to 2026 headline inflation. The IEA, resuming Hormuz flows is the single most important variable. The shock is hitting both fuel tanks and dinner plates. Experts see 3 scenarios. The outcome will be driven by geopolitics. Scenario A, diplomacy succeeds. A multilateral mission led by European partners brokers partial reopening by mid-2026. Oil retreats to $100 to $110. Markets stabilize. Recession risk eases. Scenario B, stalemate. Blockade persists, tanker traffic constrained, oil holds above 130, food inflation extends into 2027. Europe and Asia face elevated recession risk. Scenario C, escalation. Wider conflict and additional choke points targeted. Analysts warn prices could lurch toward $200. Global supply chains buckle. a deep recession becomes likely. At Global Economic Hub, we track every development so you don't have to. Subscribe, because in a world moving this fast, being informed is not optional. Has fuel gone up in your country? Tell us in the comments at Let's Build a Global Price Map. If this video gave you clarity, share it. Someone in your network needs to understand what is happening right now. Subscribe to Global Economic Hub. We publish economic intelligence that cuts through the noise. And hit the notification bell, because the next update on this story could move markets within hours. A narrow strait thousands of miles away can change your fuel bill and your food costs overnight. Plan for higher costs, strengthen budgets, stress test supply chains, watch the signals, diplomacy progress, safe tanker transits, and coordinated SPR releases. In fast-moving crises, clarity beats noise. We'll keep you briefed without the spin.